Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Please go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. This really helps out the channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're YouTube, this is a satire channel, and this is for entertainment purposes only. Now, with all that out of the way, let's see what we got today. We are live.
Have you heard the theory of the Titanic and the Federal Reserve? Well, here it goes. So on the Titanic, there's some extremely wealthy passengers like J.P. Morgan, John Rockefeller, and the Rothschilds. But then you have Jacob Astor, the wealthiest man in the world at the time. He owned about 40% of all mortgages, and he was a Freemason who was very opposed to the idea of a central bank. Whereas J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and Rothschild strongly supported the idea of a central bank. So Jacob Astor was the only one standing in the way of a central bank at the time. Coincidentally, the morning the Titanic was supposed to set sail, J.P. Morgan, some Rothschilds, and others quietly exited the ship without any explanation. 5 days later, Titanic slams into an iceberg and it starts to sink. And even though Jacob Astor is the wealthiest man in the world, he still can't find a seat in a lifeboat, and he ends up sinking with the ship. Shortly after, these guys become the wealthiest men in the world, and without Jacob Astor standing in their way, the next year in 1913, on Jekyll Island in Georgia, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law, paving the way to print money out of thin air and completely control our monetary system. Was this a coincidence or a conspiracy?
Oh, I'm sure it was all just a really big coincidence. Right? Stuff like that doesn't happen.
We actually fund ourselves and then work out what dividend is needed to pay. So we kind of work, it's a great business to be in, central banking. You print money and people believe it. And
yeah, that's hilarious.
1997 was a very important year for the Masons in Turkey. Hidden cameras had allegedly recorded secret rituals held in Masonic temples, which were then broadcast on Turkish television for several days. The secret recordings shocked the Turkish public, as well as Masons who had not yet attained higher degrees. The expose revealed secret Masonic activity largely unknown to the public since the establishment of the first Masonic lodge in Istanbul in 1738. In one clip, new candidates are blindfolded and made to repeat an oath of secrecy.
Aykut Erensoy, mesleği elektrik mühendisi. Kenan Ali Akman, mesleği serbest ticaret.
Adayların kimlikleri anlaşıldı. Onları içeri aldınız.
In another clip, we see what appears to be a ritual performed with only high-level 33rd degree Masons in attendance, where the senior master allegedly drank the blood of a goat which had just been sacrificed, followed by some prayers recited in Hebrew.
That seems pretty holy.
All right, you don't want to know how I acquired this? A real Freemasonic Bible. 1955. Earth. The earth was regarded as the universe itself. Every other body, the heavens, sun, moon, and stars being subsidiary to it. There seemed traces of the idea that the world was a disk, bordered by the ocean and Jerusalem as its center. Heaven. The Jews divided heaven into three parts: the atmosphere, where the clouds gather; the firmament, in which sun, moon, and stars are fixed; and the upper heaven, the abode of God and his angels.
This is why I've said the dates that they are giving us are incorrect. We used to have 13 months, 28 days, and 1 day of rest, even in the Bible. So look, we have 13 lunar cycles of 28 days, 13 zodiac signs. Every turtle shell you'll find, 13 sections in the middle, and 28 notches along the side, all to keep us disconnected from these natural cycles of our realm. Listen to David Strait explain it more.
Our calendar is not quite right. we're supposed to have 13 months of 28 days, with one day, the day of resurrection, Easter, as a neutral day. That's our 365 days. We've actually got 13 constellations, not 12. This same calendar is very close to the Mayan calendar, but it's also very close to several ancient Sanskrit calendars. What does sept mean? 7. I thought that was the 9th month. What does oct mean? What does nov mean? What does dec mean? It's supposed to be the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th month. Jan is 11. Feb is 12. March is 13. April is our first month. Babies are born in the spring, the 1st of April, Easter. This is the start of our new year, start of spring. The flowers start coming up, the grass starts coming up, the trees start leafing out, the babies are born. That's the first day. Our neutral day, day 1, the day we rest and celebrate the resurrection, the new beginning, the beginning of Christ. April is month 1. And then we lost a month in there. Where is it?
So that's why they brought in the leap year, to correct for that. Interesting.
So this is a certificate, specifically a certificate of live birth. A bond is a certificate, and a certificate is written assurance. A bond is also evidence of a debt, which would be a certificate of indebtedness, which is an obligation issued by a corporation having the same effect as a bond. And the issuing corporation can lien against all the property of the corporation it created, meaning that if you have a birth certificate, which is a certificate of indebtedness, the state is now allowed to lien against all your property. And in banking, this is referred to as a certificate of deposit, as a government security, the same as a treasury certificate, which you are the intended beneficiary of. To claim this certificate will be done through special deposit, which is a deposit that is made for a specific purpose that is to be returned to the depositor, and that creates a bailment or trust, which is supposed to be done at the treasury. But don't believe me, do your research. Like, share, and follow for part 2.
Born into bondage. Quite literally.
Guess who runs the United States? Everyone says, oh, it's the Rockefellers. It's the Collins family. Now, who are the Collins? Well, there's a fellow called Christopher Columbus, who in Spanish is called Cristobal Colon. He came from one of the papal families called the Colonna family, and they were the enemies of the Orsini family, who considered themselves to be the Maxima family. The Rothschilds and the Windsors come from the Orsini family. The Orsini and the Colonna were fighting in the Middle Ages to be popes. One pope finally comes along in history and says, right, you've got to stop this fighting amongst yourselves. He said, one of your family has to marry one of their family, and you have to make amends, and we have to make a papal bull, and we have to work together. And from then on, the Collins family becomes Columbia, District of Columbia, the Knights of Columbus, Columbia Pictures, British Columbia, Columbia in South America, and the Collins family still runs America. Thank you, Christopher Collins, otherwise known as Christopher Columbus.
If you're seeking the real truth, if you want to understand what you are and where we are, check the link in the profile bio.
All right, guys, plug time. So I just launched my t-shirt line. You can check them all out for yourself. Link is in the description. All the designs are done by me, and new ones are added each week. They make a really great gift or even something for yourself. So by all means, go ahead and check them out and let me know what you think. But with that out of the way, let's get back to the video.
Only 100 miles from New York City, Plum Island is home to a high-security lab that conducts top-secret biological experiments, with rumors of unsavory science experiments found just behind its walls. The island was purchased by the government during the Spanish-American War for the construction of Fort Terry. After World War II, the fort was deactivated and scrubbed clean. It stayed closed for over 7 years until it was reactivated in 1952 as a center for the Army Chemical Corps. Plum Island became one of the main animal disease investigation labs in the world, studying some of the most infectious pathogens known to man. On the west side of the island, sealed behind decades-old metal doors and frozen inside tamper-proof containers, are vials of the rinderpest and foot and mouth disease virus, two of the most feared animal contagions of all time. Plum Island has experienced a couple of accidental outbreaks and pathogen faux pas of its own. In 1978, an unknown disease was released into animals outside the center. The creatures were quickly eradicated, but to this day, no one is entirely certain if any actually made it past the island's borders. Plum Island's secretive nature and sensitive research have fueled conspiracy theories and speculation. The island's location gives it an advantage by keeping it far away from people and animals. For now, the mystery and intrigue surrounding Plum Island endures.
Oh, there's a disturbing little rabbit hole.
This is the Montauk Monster, a terrifying cryptid that washed up on a beach near Montauk, New York. As soon as this image hit the internet, rumors started to spread. What was this elusive creature, and why did it wash up here? The Montauk Monster was the size of a small dog, but had a grotesque appearance. The partly decomposed creature lacked any fur and had a beak-like mouth. A theory that soon emerged was that the monster was a genetically modified animal that escaped from the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. At the time, Plum Island was a highly secured government facility with a mission to research dangerous animal diseases. But because of its previous military ties and isolated location, the base has always been a mysterious location. When the creature's body disappeared suddenly, rumors of a government cover-up started to circulate. Despite various theories, the true identity of this creature remained unsolved.
Yeah, they tried to say it was a raccoon, but it almost looks like a griffin.
The Department of Homeland Security, the current owners, closed the facility in 2005 and moved its inner workings to a new facility located all too close to home for me. A new facility was constructed and is still in use in Manhattan, Kansas today. As far as Plum Island is concerned, its secrets were probably buried deep within governmental archives. So where does that leave the Montauk Monster in all this? Officially, the monster had been identified as a decomposing raccoon, so apparently case closed. But possibly not. In 2010, a was found on Plum Island itself. The body was described as being tall and well-built, with elongated fingers and injuries consistent with brain surgery. This gruesome discovery led to even more allegations that Plum Island wasn't just experimenting on animals, but had moved on to humans as well.
Interesting. Let's go a little deeper.
This real-life story is what the hit TV series Stranger Things was based on. Did you know that Stranger Things was originally supposed to be called Montauk? Or that real experiments were conducted at Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York? Stories about the Montauk Project have circulated since the 80s, after residents started reporting strange dreams and headaches after a giant radar array was set up at the facility. According to a whistleblower, Preston Nichols, the facility was set up to explore psychological warfare techniques, which included teleportation, mind control, and time travel. However, it was only after the success of the 1943 Philadelphia experiment, Preston claimed that a real doorway to another dimension was opened up, and something else, or someone else, came through. This eventually caused the place to be shut down. That is why it is said that
The Montauk Project, which was an experiment carried on at Montauk Point, New York, on the southeastern tip of Long Island, that's off of metropolitan New York, was essentially two projects. It was a mind control project where they did research on how to influence the mind of man using electromagnetics. It also evolved into a time travel project. They found out that they could actually bend time with the same equipment that they used to bend lines. This all started back in World War II. There was two major projects going on in World War II. One was the Rainbow Project, and the other was the Phoenix Project.
Almost looks like they were playing with Stargates.
Did you know they've recently found a real creature from the show Stranger Things?
What do you mean?
Okay, so you know about the Montauk Project, where they held mind control experiments on kids in Montauk, New York at a place called Camp Hero.
Yeah, I know that's what Stranger Things is based on.
Yeah, but in 2008, someone found a weird, unidentified creature on the beach in Montauk, the same exact spot where they held the experiments, and they called it the Montauk Monster. But to this day, nobody knows what it is. And in 2020, 12 years later, they found another of the same exact unidentified creature in Montauk.
Wait, so they found two of these crazy creatures?
Exactly, and Montauk is only 15 miles away from Plum Island, which is where the Animal Disease Center of New York is, but it's closed off to the public, and they may be conducting biological experiments just like in Stranger Things.
These things look like they would be from Stranger Things.
From Plum Island is the village of Lyme. It looks like a wintry postcard, but it's also the site of a modern-day viral outbreak named after the town. Lyme disease. It was here in the small town of Lyme, Connecticut that the disease was first identified. Pockets of residents started reporting mysterious symptoms which no doctor could identify. That was in 1975.
Interesting. This Plum Island is kind of suspicious.
We have an interesting video coming out of Long Island, New York. This was captured around June 17th, 2024. This witness found an unidentified creature that washed ashore. Now, the interesting part about this is it kind of looks like the Montauk Monster that washed ashore back in 2008. Whatever this thing is, it's weird looking. It looks like it doesn't even have eyes, but it raises questions. Could this be another creature from Plum Island? If you don't know about Plum Island, it's an interesting read. Take a look at this footage and tell me what you think.
What the that?
I mean, it could just be a bloated something that we aren't able to recognize, but
Fun fact. The Pentagon has an island off the coast of New York where they play war games that simulate a cyber attack on the US power grid and telecommunication systems. Plum Island is located off the coast of Long Island and features a center that studies infectious animal diseases, as well as a few buildings and a power grid. Every 6 months, the Pentagon ferries over experts to practice how the US would respond to a cyber attack on the power grid and telecommunication systems. The game starts from a dead stop, assuming a cyber attack was successful and the US power grid and telecommunication systems are down. Players must then work to restore power and telecommunications to the island using only diesel generators to crankstart the power grid. There are 3 teams. Key personnel from the US's major grid operators work on the physical systems, another team works on the computer systems, trying to remove the malware from the network, and a third team works as the foreign adversaries, continuing to attack the grid as teams 1 and 2 try and get it back online. And what they learn from the exercise is then implemented into the current US power grid and telecommunication systems.
Well, there's certainly a lot of interesting clips today. As far as the Plum Island goes, this is a subject that has intrigued me for years. The thing is it's hard to find a lot on it. It was ran by an ex-German Nazi, I believe. Erich Traub was his name, and he oversaw a lot of it when, after the World War, when the Nazis were sort of taken care of. A lot of them allegedly came to the US and started their own laboratories and whatnot, but that's something else we can get into as we go on. But so I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think. So, drop a comment down below and let's get into it. But that's all I got today, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I always appreciate it. Thanks a lot to all my subscribers and everyone who's left a like so far. I can't thank you enough for that. Like I said, the t-shirts are available now. The link is in the description. Go ahead and check it out. Makes a great gift or just something for yourself. But I guess I will see you again in the next one. And until then, 80 Canadian, signing off.